Hello friends, welcome to my channel Anthropology Insights. So in the today's video we are going to learn about the social stratification, definitions of social stratification, its process, nature and criteria of social stratification. Okay. So let's start. Social stratification. All humans have differences. These differences may be in the terms of their biological attributes like age, sex, and race, or they may be different in terms of their social attributes, that is, the distribution of social rewards like wealth, prestige associated with lifestyle, and power. When these biological differences or social differences come to be socially evaluated in terms of superiority and inferiority, social inequality will result. Social inequality is a universal phenomenon. In all societies at all times, one form of social inequality or the other has always existed. Social inequality can either exist in the form of hierarchy or groups of individuals, or it may exist without the creation of any hierarchy. So, without the creation of hierarchy, we call it as social differentiation, whereas with hierarchy involving ranking of groups, we call social stratification. Social stratification is a group phenomenon. It is a universal phenomenon. As Petrin Sorokin has noted, unstratified society with real equality of its members is a myth which has never been realized in the history of mankind. So हर सोसाइटी में सोशल डिफरेंसेस होते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ क्लास और स्टेटस और पावर. There is no such society without any equality. To some extent, every human society has been stratified. So it is either in the form of hierarchy or ranking of groups or without any hierarchy. Okay, so hierarchy ka example in the context of Indian society is Varna system, in which Brahmins are placed at the top, then Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, then Shudras and untouchables at the bottom. So this form of traditional hierarchy is prevalent in our society. Similarly, the social inequality without hierarchy, we call it as social differentiation. The groups are just recognized to be different on the basis of various characteristics of that group, and they are not placed according to the ranking. For example, caste system. We have different castes which are recognized independently, and they are not placed above or below each other. In Varna system, the groups of castes are placed in the hierarchy, but within them they are just different and not superior or inferior in comparison with each other. Okay. So let's see the definitions of social stratification. According to Sorokin, social stratification means the differentiation of a given population into hierarchically superimposed classes. It is manifested in the existence of upper and lower social layer. Its basis and very essence consists in an unequal distribution of rights and privileges, duties and responsibilities, social values, social power and influences among the members of the society. This is the one definition. Social stratification has divided the society in different layers, upper and lower layer, on the basis of unequal distribution of rights and privileges, duties and responsibilities, and other social values or social power or influence they practice on others. So the second definition is of Gisbert. According to him, social stratification is the division of society into permanent groups or categories linked with each other by the relationship of superiority and subordination. So according to this definition, the society is divided into permanent groups. Some of them are considered superior and others are subordinate. According to Kurt B. Meyer, social stratification is a system of differentiation which includes a hierarchy of social positions whose occupants are treated as superior, equal, or inferior relative to one another in socially important respects. According to Lundberg, a stratified society is one marked by inequality, by differences among people that are evaluated by them as being lower and higher. So every definition actually stratifies the society into superior or subordinate groups, or superiority or inferiority, or lower or higher stratas. So almost all these definitions are saying the same thing, that society is divided into different layers, from high caste, high status, high power, high influence, to low caste, low power, low status groups. So let's see the process of stratification. The process through which every society stratifies its structure. First phase is society differentiates its members in terms of certain values it associates with the roles they have been allocated to. So societies की जो members है या जो groups है, according to their role in the society, certain values are associated with them. For example, Brahmins, consisting of Sattvic Guna. Their role is to teach or preach the religion. For example, Kshatriyas, they are having the Rajasic Guna. Their role is to defend their motherland. So according to their role, certain values are associated with them. Society compares and ranks individuals on the basis of these values. So इन values के basis पे society उनको rankings देती है. Third one is the society distributes rewards differentially to different positions. According to Kingsley Davis, these rewards are either economic or those associated with prestige and leisure, which are attached to or built into the social positions. तो social stratification में according to their position in the strata, they get different rewards or according to their values they are placed there. In capitalist modern societies, people with white collar jobs are placed above or get high returns. Those with high returns are placed above. In traditional caste system, those at the top have greater prestige than the lower caste people. The first three groups, that is Brahmins or Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they are considered to be the twice born, and they are actually allowed to perform all religious rituals. And on the other hand, the Shudras and the untouchables are denied these rituals. So these types of rewards or privileges they get according to the position in the strata. So the final phase is, due to differential distribution of rewards, there is also a differentiation of prestige and esteem which people acquire. This leads to social stratification. So according to the rewards they get, they will get different prestige. Those having greater rewards are considered as prestigious, more prestigious than others. So social stratification, because of the differential reward allocation, tends to restrict social interaction, so that there is more interaction of a given sort within strata than between strata. So between strata उनमें ज़्यादा interaction नहीं होता, but more the interaction is more within the strata, and it is restricted between the strata because of these differential rewards. So let's see the nature of social stratification. According to Gerald B. Bereman, social stratification is a moral phenomenon. Moral means these are the rules which people use to guide their behavior and thinking. So people belonging to different strata differ in their morals, which ultimately determine their behavior. So it's a moral phenomenon. Second is the social stratification is a structural phenomenon. It's a structural phenomenon because it brings about structural and social differentiation in the human society. So there are structural changes in the society in the form of layers. Some groups are placed above, some at the bottom of the societal structure. Third is the social stratification is a behavioral phenomenon. It is a behavioral phenomenon because people act according to the evaluations they have made about one another in the society, using social stratification as a context. So people belonging to different strata differ in their behavior with other groups on the basis of position. Their culture and lifestyle also within the strata is different from others. Fourth is the social stratification is an interactional phenomenon. It is an interactional phenomenon because of the reason that people's action are interpersonal in nature. So the interaction of the people differ according to their position. These actions are interpersonal actions which are guided by certain rules imposed on them. तो जो भी रूल्स या रेगुलेशंस उनके होते हैं, उन पे इम्पोज किए जाते हैं, दे एक्ट अकॉर्डिंगली विथ अदर पर्सन्स, so it's interactional in nature. Fifth is the social stratification is a material phenomenon. Social stratification is a material phenomenon because these actions at the interpersonal level entail differential access to goods, services and opportunities for people in the society. So ये भी जो भी material things है, for example goods and services and opportunity, so इन सारी चीज़ों को जो access है that differs from one strata to other strata according to their position in the societal structure. The access to these things vary. Sixth is the social stratification is an existential phenomenon. It is an existential phenomenon because people experience their status and respond to them cognitively. So it actually describes subjective human experience as it reflects people's values or purpose, ideas, intentions, emotions, relationships among them. It concerns itself with experience and actions. That's why it is existential phenomenon. Social stratification reveals that the phenomenon is very complex and is an inevitable and omnipotent entity. Omnipotent means a very influential entity that touches every part of life. So let's see the criteria. For social stratification. तो ये सोसाइटी को स्ट्रेटिफाई करने के लिए कुछ क्राइटेरिया होते हैं, कुछ प्रोमिनेंट क्राइटेरिया हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. फर्स्ट क्राइटेरिया इज द बर्थ. Status was fixed in early medieval and feudal societies through the criteria of birth. This resulted in the stratification of society into groups of slaves and slave masters, nobles and serfs, the gentry and the commonalty. When status is determined by the criteria of birth, the system of social stratification becomes rigid and integrated. This system also makes social mobility impossible. The attitude of members of each social strata becomes mechanical and to some extent fatalistic. Especially in the Gupta period, this Varna and caste system started to become very rigid, and karma theory evolved, which meant the deeds in your last birth is outcome that you are born in your caste. So this karma theory was there. It became fixed on the basis of birth, and this system also makes social mobility impossible. So it is as it is dependent on birth, it is fixed. Once you are born in that strata, it's permanent. That's why the members of social strata becomes very mechanical in their behavior and fatalistic. Fatalistic means they know what is going to happen in their future, because everything is fixed. Your role is fixed, your prestige is fixed, your position is fixed. So it becomes very fatalistic in nature. Second criteria is the wealth. Under the feudal system, the principal form of wealth was the land. In fact, the whole system of feudal relationships was based on land ownership, which was the elemental fact in the feudal structure. With the progress of industrial revolution and with the growth of commercial, financial and factory production enterprises, wealth was redefined so that land was now subordinate to the new forms of money and credit. The evolution of wealth as an independent social value weakened birth as the controlling factor of status. Status now came to be defined in terms of wealth. A class system came into existence which was not rigid but permitted persons of initiative and enterprise to rise on the basis of their individual achievements. The traditional class demarcations were blurred and a new social structure was given birth to. Wealth now penetrated all social divisions and provided a universal and significant basis for social stratification. Those classes were demarcated as an upper class, a middle class, and a lower class. So, Earlier, during the feudal system, the principal wealth was land, and there was a particular group of people called feudatories who held a maximum of the land, and other tenants were just doing farming, and they were not having the ownership of the land. But later, after the industrial revolution and the growth of commercial and financial and factory production enterprises, the form of wealth was redefined. So now anybody, even without land, with the help of initiative and enterprise, can rise on individual basis. The point is that wealth is another basis of stratification of the society. The people with lot of wealth occupy the high class position in the society, and in the modern capitalist societies, birth as the criteria of stratification is becoming more and more subordinate to the wealth. So, on the basis of wealth, the society is generally divided into three stratas: upper class, lower class, and the middle class. So, the wealth now penetrated all social divisions and provided a universal and significant basis for social stratification. So, despite of their birth, it penetrated in all divisions of the society, and it has now become a universal and significant basis for the social stratification. So, the next criteria is the occupation. In modern communities, wealth is the primary determinant of social stratification. It is the possessions of wealth, for most part, which determine the sort of education an individual is likely to receive, and consequently the range of occupations open to him. There is an intimate relation between the social class and the occupation it follows. Occupation is a fair index of social class. For example, so called white collar jobs carrying greater prestige than the job otherwise, that is blue collar jobs. Blue collar jobs means manual workers. Though the former may not yield greater income. If the lower paid teacher is held in a greater esteem than the better paid technician, obviously income does not determine the social status. This leads to the question to what factors affects the prestige of an occupation. According to Davis, two factors determine the relative rank of different occupations. First, the functional importance of an occupation, and the second, the scarcity of personnel for the occupation relative to demand. The prestige of an occupation is also affected to some extent by the average income of those who follow it. Another important factor is the source of remuneration of those who follow it. Thus, a private firm may pay higher income to a particular occupation than a philanthropic institution. So, in modern societies, occupation is primary determinant of wealth, and wealth is mainly dependent on the type of job you do or occupation you have. As the traditional system of fixed occupation is no more existing, the jobs are decided by wealth and status of the person. It is the fair index of social class. And for example, the white collar jobs, that is the person who performs the professional or desk or managerial or administrative work in an office or in other administrative setting. So they may earn greater income than others who do the blue collar jobs. Blue collar job means those who are basically the manual workers. Those are called as blue collar jobs. Other aspect is even the low paid teacher is held in a greater esteem than better paid technician. Here the importance is given not to his income but his knowledge, and we consider teaching as a very respectful job in our society. Accordingly, being doctor and engineer is also considered high prestige or high class, but even within them status differ on the basis of their field and their experience. Sometimes the source of remuneration also plays an important role इन द स्टेटिफिकेशन. कभी कभी प्राइवेट जॉब्स में आपको ज़्यादा इनकम मिल जाती है rather than any social institution. तो and sometimes even the government jobs are considered good. because they are considered to be safe, with fixed income and fixed working hours. So this leads to the question as to what factors affect the prestige. So according to Davis, two factors determine the relative ranking of the occupations. First is the functional importance of an occupation. For example, doctors are considered very important. Okay, health is wealth. And second is the scarcity of personnel for the occupation relative to demand. But if in the society there are many doctors, then their knowledge, experience and speciality and their results matters because for their ranking, because the combination of all this is considered rare. So first the functionality and the second the scarcity, both of these things determine the prestige or ranking of the occupation. So the next criteria is polity, or we can say the political system. The political system is an important determinant of the social system, especially in a modern society. A democratic political system aims to abolish the social distinctions and establish social equality, which means that no person will be rated high or low on the basis of one's income, occupation, or birth. An aristocratic political system, on the other hand, starts with the belief that some are born to rule and others to be ruled. Such a system stratifies the society into distinct classes of rulers and the ruled. In every society, rulers have enjoyed a higher status. In a democracy also, the legislators and ministers enjoy a higher prestige. Some of them may even be illiterate. So democracy actually seeks equality in the society, and also people from all strata participate in running the country. But in aristocratic political system, certain group or persons dominate others. They consider themselves superior and born to rule and others to be ruled. So furthermore, in every society, ruler enjoy higher status. Even in the democratic system, the legislators or ministers enjoy higher prestige and status. Even when some of them are illiterate, they enjoy these types of status and power. Education. So the next criteria is education. Social class and education interact in two ways. Firstly, to get higher education, one needs money. The children of wealthier class can get better education and ride up to the highest standards of social hierarchy. The poor youth cannot afford to meet the expenses of higher education and so are left at the bottom of the social hierarchy. Secondly, one's amount and kind of education affects the class rank he will secure. Higher education brings not only occupational skills, it also brings changes in states, interests, goals, etiquettes and speech. तो जिनके पास वेल्थ होती है या फिर जो हाई क्लास पीपल होते हैं, दे कैन अफोर्ड द एक्सपेंसेस रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द higher education, so they get better education for their children and consequently better jobs for them. Now that scholarships are declared for poor ones, but it's not for all, and the reservation is also limited. It's not for all, it's only for the talented ones. So the poor are left at bottom with low skilled or unskilled jobs. Secondly, one's amount of and kind of education. If any person, irrespective of class, is able to get good skills or qualification, he will automatically rise up the social strata. He will automatically get a skilled job or a high profession job, or and he will rise up to the high class. Higher education also brings changes in occupational skills, class and lifestyle, behavioral changes, etiquettes, speech. So all these changes are associated with the education. In the three component theory of stratification, more widely known as Weberian stratification, this theory implies that there are three principal dimensions for the concept of social stratification. First is the class, which signifies the economic inequalities. Second is status, which implies the differences in styles of life and prestige. Third is the power, which is the inequalities existing in the power structure. And there is also a possibility that the three dimensions can coincide. For example, if somebody is high class or having considerable wealth, then on the basis of wealth he can achieve the power and status. If somebody has power or he is very influential, he can achieve a prestigious status for himself, and also he can gain more money or more wealth on the basis of power and status. So these three things, they can also coincide with each other in this manner. Okay, so this is all about the social stratification. So there are many examples of social stratification. For example, caste system, class system, estate. We are going to study them separately. So I hope you are clear with this social stratification concept. In the next video, we are going to discuss about the definitions of caste system, its characteristics, its functions and dysfunctions. Okay, thank you.